Hello everyone, I'm here to show you my latest obsession. I'm calling these the yearbook photos, and I've been having a lot of fun putting these together. So I thought that I would stop and share some of my process for putting them together. So I'm making ATCs, so all of them I want to be ATC sized. And so I've done a whole bunch of backgrounds, painted, stamped. Some of them are cardstock, and some of them are just paper with fingernail polish, crayon rubbings on paper, just a bunch of different colors, some light, some dark, so that I can mess around when I find the perfect figure to put on top of them. Sometimes I need light, sometimes I need dark. And then I have some bodies. These I get from yearbooks. I have a yearbook that I from the 50s that I got. Fashion magazines. I have printed out on copy paper some of my family photos. I have a art book that I've used. Nat Geo advertisements are great. I picked out my fussy cuts, and I was going to use some of these for art journal pages, but some of them are good for head and shoulders, so I have pulled them out. I haven't chopped off their heads yet, just to see if maybe I want to use them for this project. And then my heads. I've gotten heads everywhere. Animals and people, of course, cartoons, parts of faces. Not all of them are full faces, but also objects as well. I've got shoes and coffee cups, cars. There's a typewriter. Here's a microwave oven, an earth, houses. Here's a shoe. Here's cars, all kinds of just objects to do this with as well. So you don't have to find real heads. You can just make heads out of anything. Sky's the limit. So that's what I've done. I've collected heads and shoulders, heads, and made some backgrounds. And so my process basically is to I'll grab this one, to grab a body or a head, something that catches my eye. And this one I left out to do something with. So this one I would probably use as probably a head and shoulders. I haven't decided if I'm going to use this one yet or not, so I haven't cut it apart, but just to mess around with it, I like his folded shoulders, so I'd want to keep that. And then he's got a pretty big neck, so I would want to find something that was fairly large to go on that very large neck. Any kind of combinations would work. And I have to show that maybe tilt it that way and then tilt her head funny so that she has some attitude and she's posing for the camera for her yearbook photo. This might work. So that's what I'm doing. I grab either a head that catches my eye or a body, and then just start trying things out and seeing what works. So I originally had picked out this, and I cut her head off with her head. I thought she was really cool, and I like her head and I like her body, but I'm obviously not going to use them both in the same thing. So off with her head. I cut off her head to use somewhere else, and that's a really tiny head. It'll have to be a different project altogether. And then I have this body to try some different things. I like the big head on the little body. Got to tilt it a little bit because it's too big. I want the ears in. Maybe tilt it the other way. Nope, it has to be that way. I like to tilt their heads because it makes them more funny. It makes it more funny. Do I want a really big head on her? It would work. Maybe just a watch face. Maybe a pirate head. Maybe a lion. The proportions are really the same, so it makes it interesting. I like big heads on small bodies as well. This is one of those shoulders that anything goes with. Here's a world. I'm not real fond of that one. I did find this one, and I love it. I have to tilt it so that the cigar stays on the card. So I find a combination that I like, and I really do like this one. And then I go to my backgrounds and try to find something that goes. That one would go. I need to find something that the body and the head can be seen. I don't want the body and the head to kind of disappear like that. So I just keep trying things until I find something that works for both parts. And there are challenges. You don't want your backgrounds too busy because that distracts from the figure. This one is too close in color. I kind of liked that one. It's a light background. You can see it. But what I do is I find a combination that I might like, and then I set it aside before I glue anything together, just so that I can get some distance from it, get some time away from it, and look at it with fresh eyes to see if I really like it. I might not like that background. I might like one of the other heads better. I want to look at them and have fresh eyes for it. So some of my other things, and that was a cool little torso. I do leave the neck when I can. I knew that I wasn't going to use her head for anything, so I just kind of cut her so that she had a long neck. That way I can put a head on using the neck from the shoulders. Because if you put it down too far, sometimes it doesn't look as interesting. I liked this one with a little bit more neck. It just makes a little bit of a difference. And it makes a difference which way the torso is looking. The head kind of needs to be looking in the same direction. So I kind of liked that. Here's one where I had a bunch of options. Again, I left the neck, but this one is one that I could actually cut out that neck entirely so that the animal or the head that I put on top could have its neck showing. So I haven't decided if I really like zebra. I don't really like that point. I might just curve that point out. I did like that head. I liked the white that went with the black and white shoulders, and I might want a little bit more neck on that. Moving that around to see how I want it. I liked that head because the gray hat went with the black and white. Tilt for attitude. When you're posing for your photos, you don't always just look straight on. You give a little pose. So I want to make sure my little characters here have a little pose. And then I liked this one too. I haven't decided. This one is a little bit difficult because the head is dark and the body is light. I'm having a hard time finding a background that both are visible. Too dark of a background and the head gets lost. So I'm still working on finding the perfect background, and I'm not sure which head goes on that one yet, so putting that one to the side. Here's another head that I wanted to use, and I do try to get a blank card out just to see how much room I have for the shoulders and stuff. Now this one, such a cool little head, and I was thinking just put some shoulders on it, but it's kind of boring that way. So I thought, well, let's put a tiny little body on that big old head. And what better than a jester body to go with that crying face? I'm going to have to fussy cut that out just a little bit more. But I like that. Like the huge body or the huge head on the little body. And then I would have to find, this would work really well, a dark background with black and white. You can see those really well. So another thing to consider is things that have a long or wide neck. You want to cut out. You might want to use the head neck and then decide where you want it. Say, I liked this. But I cut her head out and I needed a neck to put the head on. So I'm using the neck of that head. And then I just have to mess around. Where does it look the best to me? It might be interesting short, but it might be really interesting tall as well. So I'll just have to mess around with that. And then I had trouble finding a background for this. The darker background kind of gets lost. This background kind of gets lost again, but I found that this one I liked because I saw the stripes of her shirt against the circles in the background. So that worked in my eyes. Again, I'll have to look at it. I'll have to put it aside and actually look at it and see if I really love it by the time I'm ready to glue it down. So here's some shoulders that I wanted to use, and I came across this square. Excuse me. The square that I wanted to use, and I wanted to leave it as a square. I like the black and the light. Sorry, I was choking there. So I like the black and the white. I like the way the colors go together. So I decided I was going to use this background, and I want to leave the picture square. So I will put the torso, the shoulders there, and kind of match the corners of her face to her shoulders to make her look like she is put together. So you don't have to fussy cut out all your images for it to work. Here's the one. This was a statue. And I cut off his head so I could use that someplace else. And I really liked this huge head. I'm going to have to cut off this little bottom part, but I want his hands to show and his knees. So I'll have to figure out how to put his head so I don't cut off any of that. Haven't really decided which way I want to do that yet. I might have to bring him down just a little bit, because having his head tilted just doesn't seem quite right. And I had difficulty finding a background for this because he's dark. I needed a real simple light background just so that you can see everything. Here's one. I liked that little statue body, and when I put this, it's not even a full head, it's just a square, it's just a mouth and a nose, but together it reminds me of a choir singer. I love that. Haven't decided what background to put on it yet. I'm still messing around trying to decide what I like, but I definitely like that as a figure. So we will see what actually happens. Here's another one. I will cut his head off to use someplace else, but I like this his wooden shoulders. This is a photograph I took of a mask. Printed it out on copy paper so it would be gluable. And I like it on this, and I also like it on this stamped sun because you can see that in the background. So I haven't decided which way I'm going to go yet. So that is just my process. Grab either a head that interests me and find a body to go with it, or find a body and then mess around with different heads until you find something you like. Find a background that it will go on so that you can see the head and the shoulders, and just have fun with it. I have my dining room table all laid out with heads, and I usually grab a torso and try to match a head to it. Some of my torsos are, full body from fashion magazines. tilt a head, make them funny, find the background that makes them go together. Had a difficult time with this green. It wouldn't go on any background, so I ended up putting it on this black and white. And a telephone head. And then it just seemed too boring to me, so I added a wing. The black and white background made everything noticeable. Here's a background, fingernail polish on there for some interest, and then a book illustration. I like the dark against this light background. I do have some animal bodies that I'm going to start working with, some bird bodies. Here's another one I had some difficulty with. This is from a calendar, desk calendar that I cut out. And I decided to put black and white head on him, but I was going to put it on red, but you lost the glasses. So if I put it on black and white, a light white, you can see his glasses. And his proportions are pretty similar, but you can tell that he's interesting because of the cartoon-ish body with the realistic head. And here's one. I haven't decided what I'm doing with the background yet, but I loved this really long neck of the statue. And so I want to make sure that that neck stays long. So I like that together, but I haven't decided what I'm doing with the background yet. If I want it too matchy-matchy, or if I want it to be different, I'm just going to have to sit with it for a little bit. Here's one of those bird bodies. I'm thinking about a clock head. Still, I have to think about this for a while and mess around. Maybe he needs a dog head. I don't know. But that's my process. Get some bodies, get some heads, get some backgrounds, and just mess around until you find things that you like. Move the heads around, give them some attitude, make them pose a little bit so that they have a little bit of fun to them. And just have fun with it. Just have fun. You can use anything, just anything. They are addictive. I have been doing this for about a week, I suppose, and I'm supposed to be doing other things. I can't walk away. Just cannot walk away. They just make me laugh. So here's another one. I haven't decided if I want a square face, a round face, or the gorilla face. I can't decide. Just can't decide. So that's my obsession. I hope I didn't creep you out too much. It's a lot of fun to mess around with these. Good luck. Happy yearbook photos. Thanks for watching.